All right, Unfiltered Podcast, dated August 25th, 2026. Oh, I'm sorry. August 25th, 2026. How are you guys doing here today? This is actually going to be it's always been, for the most part, non-video, but we're here at home. A couple of stories to get to, and a little bit of an announcement here, too. We're going to go, starting Labor Day next week into the start of the NFL season, we're going to be going back to doing daily podcasts every day. This is a separate show from the Earnest EJ podcast. This is more like a B-side, like I told you. And you guys know for years we've done the show. It's always been, this is more topic-centric, and most of the time we do like maybe a single topic per episode. But we're going to go back. We're going to go back to what we used to do back in the day. This show has been off and on for about 7 years. And we used to take topics that were in the now, like pretty much time. They call it time-sensitive topics, and I like to hit on those. And again, people ask, well, why don't you just throw it on the regular podcast feed? Well, because honestly, I want the Earnest EJ podcast feed to be that long-form conversations, whether it's me doing a long-form solo show or having a guest or not. Those shows tend to be a little more evergreen for the most part, even if it's evergreen for a week or two. It's more evergreen in that way. This show is more in the moment, right? Bang, bang, quick and easy. I also, as this show has been for years now, want this podcast to be, keep this show close to 10. I like to close to 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 if I'm lucky on one day. Well, not lucky. I want to say lucky if I'm feeling a little there's more topics to talk about in that day. But I want to keep this show more, in the spirit of stuff that's time sensitive at the moment. And just be able to do that with you guys. I'm really, really excited about that. You guys know I love the content game. I've been doing this content game for now 13 years. I've really, truly enjoyed it. I've, also discussed whether I'm doing this as video or audio. And I do like the audio thing because it's a lot easier to do the audio only thing. And not only that, I kind of like the idea of having a audio show too also. It kind of gets me back to a little bit my radio bag a little bit. Earnest EJ podcast is now mostly, if not all, video now for the most part. So you have that already as is. So I kind of like having this being a little bit audio only a vibe to it. Now that doesn't mean that we may not ever do a video episode here and there, but I see this being mostly an audio platform for me. And cause a lot of times I'll sit record this while I'm in bed. I'll sit record this while I'm in the office, just laying around with my feet up and, kind of keep it. I want to keep this more low key, raw. And you guys know how this show's been for years. This is not something that I put a lot of production into. I'm not even going to put intro music in this one. I'm not going to put outro music in this one. I'm not going to put any clips. I'm just going to riff on topics of the day that are on my mind. I want to talk about. And again, it's going to be obviously sports is obviously mostly the one prior in the show. But as you guys know, my palette when it comes to topics are not just sports. It's also politics. It's also pop culture. It's also, pro wrestling sometimes. It's anything that I feel that I deem interesting. We're going to do that here on this feed. You guys know that. So we, like I said, I love doing the content creating game. I truly enjoy it, and we're going to continue doing that. And as you guys know, if you've been following on this ride for 13 years, at any point, you know how these shows go. And some of you guys are new to me, and, welcome to the ride. Again, this is going to be more time-sensitive stuff, audio only for the most part. Like I said, there might be a video show here or there. We'll see. And, like I said, this is also time of year for me where I'm, content creating is actually at its peak because with football starting now, college football started this weekend, and you guys heard my reaction on Saturday to the Florida State loss. Excuse me. I am not a happy camper. But let me say this. In the era now of the 12-team playoff, a one loss is not the end of the world, especially if you're a Big Four conference. Now, Big Four now is pertaining to the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC. Now, we all agree the ACC sucks. We all agree with that. Let's be real. The ACC fucking sucks. Let's be clear about that. But the reality is, it is still one of the Big Four. So the reality is, as long as you win your conference, you are guaranteed a bye. In fact, as long as you do well in your conference, if you don't win your conference, but you have one, maybe 2 losses, and I can see cases for 3, depending how the rest of the college football landscape looks, you can still get in the playoff. Okay? Remember, it's now 12 teams, not 4. So the margin of error has now increased. So on one hand, it's awesome because it means your team's not out of it. But it does take away from what made, or will continue to make college football special, right? That the margin of error is so small that if you don't win all these games or whatever, or if you lose one game, then your odds of getting to a playoff or cracking the top 4 is significantly lessened unless teams around you do worse. But I'm still pro 12 team playoff. I like parity. I like competition. I like the ability for teams to, be able to have a chance to crack, and show that they can compete. We'll see how it works out. I mean, obviously, if you look at this college landscape for the last, forever, but even especially the last 10 years when the playoff 4 became a thing. We always argued that, well, what if this team got in, and this team got in, this team got in. Remember last year, Florida State went unbeaten and didn't get in because of circumstances. Jalen Travis, quarterback, gets hurt in second last game of the year. Performance not good without him. And, of course, the committee is going to prioritize the best product, not necessarily the best teams or the most deserving teams. Like, yes, Florida State was the most deserving team last year to get in. But at the same time, they were not even close to being the top 4, or I'll dare say top 5 or 6 teams in college football last year, based on where they were at that point in the year. And at the end of the day, it is still a TV show. It is still the college football committee trying to put out the best product. And the reality is, Florida State would not have been the best product to show for the playoff 4. So in that respect, even though I personally was pissed off that Florida State did not get into the playoff, because I am a fan, obviously I'm biased in that way. The committee did get it right. Okay, I always have stood on that. But they should have also, I believe, gotten in because of the record. I think 13-0 is still 13-0, and the team should be rewarded for that alone. Okay, if they had 1 loss, get them out of there. But 13-0 is 13-0. But they got the best 4 teams, in my opinion, but not the most deserving teams. So that's always been my gripe with the situation. But now we're here now, 12-team playoff now, with that, and so this is why I'm not as concerned about Florida State's chances. Well, when I say chances, I mean more so the fact that let's see here. I'm looking at right now the situation here, because of this loss, it's early. They're still in it. So let's be clear about that. They're still in it. But I have questions about Florida State moving forward as a team in general. If you use this performance, for example, this week as what you're basing the future of this team this year, if you're basing it on how DJ Ungulale, the new quarterback, how he performed there, this team does not feel like a good team. And you should feel a little discouraged as a Florida State fan. Like, you're saying to yourself, yes, okay, 1 loss, not bad. You went out, or maybe lose no 1 game, you should be okay. The problem is, I don't know, if you look at that schedule, if Florida State will survive that. I think, based on this 1 game now, again, it's a 1-game sample, are they better than Miami? We'll see Miami this week against Florida. We'll see how that plays out. Are they better than Notre Dame? I would say no right now. Are they better than Clemson? I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. So there's a lot of question marks moving forward with that, and because of that is why there's a massive question mark on this team. Now, again, 1 loss, big picture, doesn't hurt, but the picture now with this team is, are they even good? And we'll see. But very discouraging loss just because of the fact that they didn't look themselves. And I say that acknowledging the fact that Georgia Tech always gives Florida State problems. Always. But, at the same time, it is what it is there. All right, what else on the docket here? I'm going to keep it a simple show today. We saw breaking news earlier today, about an hour or 2 ago. The Dallas Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb have officially come to an agreement now on a new 4-year, $136 million deal. This deal includes a $38 million signing bonus, the largest ever given to the wide receiver, and $100 million guaranteed. This makes CeeDee Lamb the second highest paid non-quarterback ever in NFL history, just behind Justin Jefferson. Let me see any other numbers here. He's definitely the highest paid receiver in Cowboys history. Yeah. So this is obviously no surprise it's going to happen. This is going to work out. The deal's going to happen. The bigger picture now is this. Now, with this being on the way, now what's next for Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott is right now. This is a lame duck year. He will be a free agent next. He could be a free agent by next March. Do the Cowboys believe in Dak Prescott still? The fact that they prioritized working with CeeDee Lamb before Dak Prescott, kind of a bad, I don't say omen, but kind of a bad look for Dak, because the perception is that Dak Prescott's only as good as he is because of the weapons around him. You still have, obviously, you had a CeeDee Lamb's contract situation caught in here. You also have the situation with Micah Parsons that's going to pay next year. So how many guys can Jerry Jones pay under that and without restricting their entire roster moving forward? Typically, guys who get paid the kind of money that Dak Prescott is looking for are guys like a Patrick Mahomes, who are clearly worth the money because of the fact they've accomplished a lot. They've won Super Bowls, whatever, or they're elite quarterbacks. Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. The problem is Dak Prescott has a ceiling. Dak Prescott's never had a career year last year, but he has not gotten this team over the hump yet. He's really, in terms of results, no better than Tony Romo, in my opinion. But at the same time, there aren't, what are the options for Dallas? You lose Dak Prescott. Does Dallas take a step back without Dak Prescott? So there's a lot of things to assess there. So I think Jerry Jones is trying to find a number, a happy medium to get him to a reasonable number where the Cowboys can have flexibility. Also, how many good years? That's assuming you sign Dak Prescott to a 5-year, whatever, max deal. How many good years do you get out of that? I'm not saying Dak is old, but do you see, can Dak Prescott get better as the time moves on? That's a big question. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I predict that they will still come to an agreement before the year starts, because I don't think they want this hanging over their heads. Otherwise, this is an all-in year for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. And again, Jerry Jones made a mistake here of kicking his can down the road, because they could have locked in Dak Prescott to a much more, reasonable number a year or two ago, where annually he had made probably $50 million or $40 million a year. But now the market's moving in a way where quarterbacks are going to be making $60 million plus a season. And Dak Prescott, whether or not you agree he is worth that kind of money, is going to command that. And there will probably be a team or two or more that will pay that kind of money for him. So that's something we need to look at moving forward. I still predict the Cowboys and Dak will come to agreement before week 1 or at week 1. But we'll see how that goes. All right, next topic here on the docket. Tulsi Gabbard, former Democratic presidential nominee, has endorsed Donald Trump. She's the second former Democrat now who has endorsed Donald Trump in the last couple of days. A notable anyway. You saw RFK Jr. last week. I did a podcast on that on Friday on this feed. Tulsi Gabbard now, someone who has left the party. And honestly, in my opinion, as someone who's a center left guy, she was someone I actually did support. It was someone I actually years ago considered voting for. Obviously she didn't win the nomination. She didn't win the primary. But she was someone I supported based on the fact that she was her record on a lot of things. I don't think it's right now, but she was someone that I felt was very common sense oriented. But she's also, in my opinion, has gone more right politically. At least that's the assumption for many people to believe. I think she has as well too. Does she still believe in the same things that she ran on back in 2020 and 2016? I don't know. That's up for the grabs. She was a candidate that was very Bernie-ish, Bernie Sanders left in policy, believing in universal health care, UBI, in defunding, not defunding, but the military complex, and trying to move money out of that, and acknowledging that as someone who also was a military person and still is. Serving a country, so that I respect for that. But I've always felt for the last couple of years that she's doing this, and some for the same reason RFK Jr. is probably doing too also, out of resentment for the Democratic elite, the Democratic Party. So on one hand, I understand, and look, I've said this on the record, like I'm a center-left guy. Moderate fiscally, very social, liberal socially, but I've always acknowledged that RFK Jr. especially, and even Tulsi Gabbard, did get screwed by the Democratic Party. I have a lot of issues with the Democratic Party as a platform, okay? People look at that as that if you're a Democrat, that you're part of the problem. Not necessarily. Their tent is very, very big. So you have to acknowledge the fact that, the people who run the party don't necessarily speak for the rest of the party. And you can argue with Republicans the same thing too also. But I've always said Republicans, the GOP's platform is much more fair than the Democrats. So in that aspect, it's not a surprise Tulsi Gabbard was endorsing Trump. We heard rumors even like weeks ago, months ago, that she was open to being Trump's running mate for as vice president. Had she made the list. I think she actually was on the list at one point. So it's not a surprise here. But it's her right, her American right. She's right as a citizen to do what she wants to do. This is what she wants to do. I'm a surprise as someone. She was very anti-Trump in 2020. Now she goes this route 4 years later. We'll see. All right, last thing we get out of here. And some sad news we just got in a little while ago. Sycho Sid Justice, if you're a WWE fan. Sid Eudy, real name, but his known as Sycho Sid and known as Sid Justice in WWE or even in WCW, passed away today due to battle with cancer. I believe his son is the one that actually made the announcement here. I'm going to bring it up real quick here. Announcement he put here. Basically said, "Dear friends and family, I am deeply saddened to share that my father, Sid Eudy, has passed away after battling cancer for several years. He was a man of strength, kindness, and love, and his presence will be greatly missed. We appreciate the thoughts and prayers as we grieve this loss. Details of memorial service will be shared soon. Thank you for support. Sincerely, Gunnar Eudy." Sycho Sid was one of my favorite characters in history of wrestling. A guy that probably should have been top guy all time. He was really, really big, tall, and he had a presence. He headlined WrestleMania 13 with Undertaker. A lot of rumors were that he never made it. He had a ceiling because of the fact that, number one, his love for softball restricted his schedule, which is why Vince never really pushed him heavier. But this guy should have been an all-time great. And the sad part of this too, also him passing, especially, is the fact that he won't be able to be alive to see himself. Well, assuming that the WWE does in fact reward him, as he should get into the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to be alive to see that if it does happen, because he's someone I've always said that should have been in the WWE Hall of Fame years ago. This guy, even with the shortcomings in the company, he was still a guy that had a massive impact. He was a guy that got guys over. He got Shawn Michaels over. He got Taker over, as I mentioned. Hogan, him and Hogan's feud, and although the matches when WrestleMania 8 was absolute trash, he was a guy that still did some good work. And we're gonna miss him. Some of his stuff at WCW was pretty decent too. Also, and some of the vignettes he did was very comical too. Some stuff on the internet you can look at. But Sid Eudy passed away. I don't know how old he was. Definitely probably mid-60s. But very sad news. Very sad news here coming out in the wrestling world. So, and that's where we'll close out this podcast, dated August 26, 2024. I am on Twitter /X at EJ Christian 7. Of course, guys, check out my YouTube page at youtube.com/@Earnest Christian. We get all of my content, all of it. This show, Earnest EJ Podcast, my wrestling retrospective podcast, which will be coming back very soon. And all projects. I got a lot of other things I'm going to be announcing in the coming days. Lots of content coming. This is the year where I really, really, really go content heavy. This show will be a massive priority moving forward. So I'm looking for you guys to be back on this ride. We've been doing this particular podcast off and on for about 7 years, and we're going to continue doing that. So love you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. We'll be back. I won't go necessarily daily every day of this show just yet, but definitely after Labor Day, we're going to go daily with this one Monday, Friday. And possibly some weekend shows, if possible. So, love you guys. Take care, and see ya.